morning, friends. It's Becky, and today we are going to learn about how to make great log cabin blocks using the Tucker Trimmer 3. Now, what I love about this technique is that after we do each round around the center block, we're going to trim it before we add the next round. So that way we end up with a precision block every single time. Because if you're an 1/8 of an inch off, think about it, an 1/8 of an inch off, that means within 8 seams, you can be up to an entire inch off with your blocks. So this way of doing it is really helpful to make sure that you have that accuracy as you are piecing. Now for today's demonstration, I'm gonna use some 2.5 inch strips that I have found in my stash just to show you how to do it. And I'm only going to make a couple of rounds. What I do have recommend is the traditional log cabin technique sheet from Studio 180. It'll give you some additional measurements and help you with your cutting and your measurements. So for today, I need the Tucker Trimmer 3, my traditional log cabin technique sheet, my fabric cut, my rotary cutter, and sewing machine and iron. So we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, friends, so I went ahead and I've laid out all my fabrics. Now, this particular log cabin, my white is going to be my center, and then these are going to be each set of logs going out. I found this really fun stripe in my stash, and I thought it'd be fun to kind of add a stripe to my log cabin. I like stripes, so let me see where I can fit that in and we'll see how it turns out. So I'm going to start by sewing my first log and my center together, and then I'm going to press them, and then I'll show you how to trim. Remember that I'm using 2.5 inch strips, so I'm going to go ahead and cut, and I'm going to cut those at 2.5 inches. Okay, for the sake of our demo, I'm only going to do a couple, but I would normally go down that entire strip. Now, when I did my pressing, always press towards the outer log. Since we are going to be using strips to sew on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my next log, and I'm going to place my center in my first log right on top of that strip. Now I want to get into the habit of placing the log that I just placed, my newest one, away from me. Now, just be careful though, because it gives you a little lip there, and you want to make sure that your needle goes over that without getting snagged. I'm going to sew my best 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to press towards my log. Okay, so I've added that log, I've pressed towards the outer log, and now I'm going to cut these apart. Notice I only left about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch between each one. I don't need to leave a lot of space, but I know that I'm going to be adding my next piece right here around this center square. So when I go to trim this, I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to trim that so it's flush. Okay, here's the thing. I'm not going to worry about this little piece right here, because when we go to do our trim after each round, we're going to be squaring that up. Okay. All right, so there's my next set. Now I'm going to take my next strip, and remember, I'm going to place my newest log away from me, and add that to my next strip. So I'm going to go ahead and sew that now. Again, I'm going to be sewing the log here, so I want to make sure that that piece is flush. And my newest piece out. And it looks like I'm going to have to add another strip here to get this one. Oh, wait, maybe it might fit. Nope, it's not. So I'm going to add another strip, sew those, and press it out. And then I'll show you how to trim the first round. At this point, I'm going to be squaring everything up, so I'm just going to cut these apart. I'm not going to worry about the lineup because I'm going to now trim them with my Tucker Trimmer 3. One of the habits that I like to be in is I always trim my logs 1 and 2 first. And we're going to trim these to 6 inches. So what I'm looking for is this 6-inch diagonal line. I want it to go through the corners of my center, and I want my primary diagonal or my constant diagonal to go through the other corners. Okay. So that lines up beautifully, and I'm going to go ahead and trim that side. Across, rotate this 180 degrees. I'm going to put it in my 6-inch box. Okay. And when I align that, look at that. My center goes right down the center, and my 6-inch diagonal goes through those corner points. Okay. One of the habits that I like to be in is I always trim my logs 1 and 2 first. And we're going to trim these to 6 inches. So what I'm looking for is this 6-inch diagonal line. I want it to go through the corners of my center, and I want my primary diagonal or my constant diagonal to go through the other corners. Okay. So that lines up beautifully, and I'm going to go ahead and trim that side. Across, rotate this 180 degrees. I'm going to put it in my 6-inch box. Okay. And when I align that, look at that. My center goes right down the center, and my 6-inch diagonal goes through those corner points. Okay. So there's my perfectly trimmed block. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add the next round, and then I'll be back to show you how to trim that. Okay, I went ahead and added my next round. Now I'm going to trim to 9.5. Now again, I'm using my center square as my point that I always want to return to. So I have my 9.5-inch diagonal going through those corners, my primary diagonal going through those ones, and I'm going to go up one side. And across the top. I'm going to rotate that 180 degrees. Put it in my 9.5-inch box. And again, I want to make sure that my diagonals are going through my center square, which is my white, and through the diagonals. So, okay, here we go. Okay. All right, so here's the thing. You can go on, you can continue to add more rounds. I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. For today, you can add as many rounds as you want. You can make your center square different size. You can use different size for your logs. But if you've enjoyed our video, like and share with your friends. Remember to follow us and give this a try. It's another great way to use your Tucker Trimmer 3 to create something beautiful. Until next time, happy quilting.